You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening, everybody. I am Kerry Greenaway. You are listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show, and I'm here with my co-host, Mark Manley. Mark?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you today?
Always not too bad. We got Patch the Paranormal Pooch with us here today as well, so if you hear a woof, you know what it is.
Well, I'm here with my pooch too, Marley.
Well, talking about disappearing islands today, I think, aren't we?
We are talking about disappearing islands. Now, last week we spoke about the Tuatha De Danann and all of that mythology from Ireland, didn't we?
Right, Tuatha De Danann, and one of the places they were supposed to have disappeared to, which we said at the time, we're not going to talk about it now.
That's right, and it was the island of the Tir Nanog.
Which is also known as...
What?
It's the same place, High Brazil.
Oh, yes, but we're going to, first of all, we're going to talk about the fables of the Tir Nanog. I'm probably not saying that at all right, so I do apologise for my pronunciations once again, everybody. The pronunciations is not my strong point.
Don't worry about it, Tir Nanog. Right, if I remember rightly, there is supposed to be a legend of the king of the Tuatha De Danann, and that's what High Brazil's named after, the Brazil bit. Let me just find it. Carry on talking amongst yourselves here.
Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Now, this was supposed to have been called, it's also known as the Island of the Living, the Island of Life, Brazil's Island, the Land of Promise, the Land of Youth, amongst many, many more. Now, this is an island that is supposed to appear every 7 years off of the coast of Ireland. Now, in legend, those on the island are said to never age, never grow old. There's supposed to be no illness, no sorrow. It's supposed to be very flush, loads of orchards, trees, forests dripping with honey. It's just supposed to be neither too hot nor too cold. And everybody who lives on the island is beautiful and young. God, I could sell tickets to this island.
Well, it's not Ibiza.
I mean, is there a good club on this island?
Well, it's basically another utopia, isn't it?
It's supposed to be, yeah, a really, beautiful place with beautiful people.
Well, what do you expect? I mean, it's the Irish, hello. I'm Irish.
Now, there is a fable regarding this island, and I'm going to tell you it before we go on to the more, and I hesitate to use the word factual, but the more bare bones of it all. The fable of this island is about, the story is about a guy called Usheen.
O'Shea.
O'Shea. See,
yeah.
Pronunciations again. Now, he was this great warrior, and he was really athletic and a gifted poet, and he was the son of a guy called Fionn Mac Cumhaill, but also known as Finn McCool. Now, I love that name, Finn McCool. Yeah. Now, Fionn was the leader of a group known as the Fianna, who guarded the King of Ireland. Now, Ushi, oh no, I'm not saying that right, and this group of people would explore the green hills of Ireland on a daily basis, hunting and protecting the king. Now, this guy was really happy doing this, but then one day, whilst they were out hunting, they saw this beautiful lady on a majestic white horse. Now, this lady on this white horse was the most beautiful woman that Oshie had ever seen, and he was totally blown away by her. But she had this godly appearance, which is what links into the Tuatha, because she had the long golden hair and a beautiful pale blue dress covered in stars, and allegedly...
Nordics. The Nordics, like we spoke about last week.
Yeah, a golden light allegedly surrounded her. Anyway, she approached the Fianna, and she told them her name was Neve.
Yep, that's right.
Have I said that right? Oh
yep, that's right.
My goodness, that's a first.
I'm just sitting back listening to pronounce these names. Don't worry, if you get it wrong, I'll go, Ma.
I know, everyone's probably laughing at me in the chat room. And she took a fancy to Ushi and said she was going to take him back with her. This is a girl who knows what she wants. She sort of saw him and went, I love you, thanks. Come back to my island with me. That was my Irish accent.
A Yorkshire Irishman. Real lad, we're going to have a cup of tea, won't you?
And she explained to him that this island where nobody ever aged and nobody was upset and everyone was happy. And he went, oh, okay then, go on then. I'll go back to the island with you. But he did say to the king that he was going to be back soon. But anyway, he was there a little while with her. And he met, while he was on the island, he met an older woman. And he said, oh, hang on, why are you so old whilst everybody else here is quite young? And she said that when she arrived on the island, that she would continue to get younger until she reached the age of a child. Now, Oshie, or whatever his name is, was very happy with Neve, but he felt that something was missing, and he wanted to go and visit his father. And he asked Neve if he could return to Ireland, but she sort of was a bit, no, I don't think so. And then she ended up giving in, but she said, you can only go on my horse, and you can't get off the horse.
Carry on.
Otherwise, you won't be able to come back to the island.
Come on.
No, that's it. That's the story.
Also, the horse is supposedly related to... Remember we talked about Legend of the Fairies, and again, the blonde people, the Scandinavians, and there was that one about the Larchie turning into a horse.
Puck.
Yeah, there you
go. It was supposed to be
go.
Puck, wasn't it, that turned into a horse?
Yeah, that's right. And if you got off the horse, that was it.
Yeah. So it all linked together. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of reference that because we were talking about the Tuatha last week and I wanted to bring that back up. Now, High Brazil. Now, this island, again, is supposed to have been seen every 7 years off the coast of Ireland, but fleetingly seen. Now, the first case of this, the first documented group was some explorers from Bristol in 1480. But one of the most famous visits to High Brazil was in 1674 by a guy called Captain John Nisbet of Killybegs, County Donegal.
That's it, Killybegs, County Donegal.
Killybegs.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about this Captain John Nisbet?
Basically, him and his crew were in waters to the west of Ireland, which is where it's supposed to be, and a fog came up. And this, every single story that's abound with the island, they always talk about a fog coming up and it's enshrouded in fog, and then all of a sudden it'll clear and you can see the island for a little bit. But anyway, fog came up, and as the fog lifted, the ship was dangerously close to rocks. So whilst they were getting their bearings, the ship anchored in about 3 fathoms of water, and 4 crew members rowed ashore to visit Brazil Island. They also think it may be Brazil, or named after the whole king of Ireland, called Brazil, the Celtic High King, again, Tuatha De Danann. And basically, they spent a day on the island, and they returned with silver and gold given to them by an old man who lived there. And the captain told of large black rabbits and a magician who lived in a castle by himself on the island. seems to me like they'd also discovered magic mushrooms at that time as well. But however, it appears the story was the fiction of an Irish author called Richard Head. So they don't know. But upon returning, the return of the crew to Ireland, a second ship set out under the command of Alexander Johnson, and they too found a hospitable, say the word properly, Irish island, and returned to confirm the tales of Captain Nesbitt and his crew. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Well,
the last documented sighting of it, properly documented, was in 1872 when an author called T.J. Westrop. See, and then again, since I hear the word author, and they're saying, "Oh, I've seen the island," don't know. And several companions saw the island appear and then vanish. This was Mr. Westrop's third view of the Irish island, but on this voyage, he had brought his mother and some friends to verify his existence. So, you don't know.
You don't know with this one, do you?
I've heard legend. I mean, being half Irish anyway, my dad's always spoken about the little people and the islands and this, that, and the other, and I have heard legend of it, and it's not over there, especially in Southern Ireland and Western Ireland. It's not part of myth. It's part of, we know all about that. Oh, Jesus, yeah, so for that, hey Brazil, or e-Brazil. They talk about it as if it's a real thing. So, and it has been reported by word of mouth, not really documented, but by word of mouth for centuries, with lots of families over there, especially on the coast. So, who knows?
Who knows, indeed. I mean, what's interesting is it's supposed to appear every 7 years.
Yeah, and I want to know what happened that uses the number 7 to make it so important that it has to appear every 7 years. What's the significance?
But it hasn't appeared every 7 years. Otherwise, particularly in this day and age, if it did appear every 7 years, it would be more. There would be you can imagine on the cliff edge or the seashore or whatever part of Ireland it is. I don't know what the geographical location is like. There'd be hundreds of reporters and that with their cameras waiting to see if High Brazil actually appeared, wouldn't there?
Well, you can, I've got visions of my family or one of my uncles from Dublin going over to the west coast and standing there, "Oh, Jesus, there it is, fogless." He goes, "Yeah, no, gone." So,
no,
yeah.
This is true. Now, I don't know about these disappearing islands because there's the mythical legend and myths surrounding them. A lot of the cases we found were really far back in history when they didn't have proper, I'm probably going to say this word wrong, cartographs.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Blimey.
Cartography, yeah?
Cartography, yeah. So,
the maps.
It was all a bit hit and miss when they were making the maps. So it could have been something that was misrepresented on a map.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, they think it might be Porcupine Bank, which is a known sandbar, which is off the northwest coast of Ireland. And it's in the exact same coordinates as where the island is supposed to be. So maybe the island did used to exist, but then, gradually the waters claimed it.
Well, this is true. Now, it could be that. It could be natural earth movement has, over years, sunk these islands, like with the land masses and the sea levels changing and stuff like that. It could be that it just wasn't really there. It could be all sorts of things.
I've also got another theory for you, which you're going to love.
I know.
Because I'm going to say it.
I know you are. Go on.
Aliens! I had to put that in there. The Rendlesham
you have
Forest
to do it
incident.
every week to me.
That's right, exactly. Because just aliens! There you go. The Rendlesham Forest incident?
Yes, in 1980, I believe.
That's right. Well, basically, Sergeant Jim Pennison claimed, that he touched one of the UFOs and that he'd been telepathically taught a binary code. Well, when he put the binary code down to paper and wrote it all out, it was some what do you call them? Not bearings. What do you call it?
Binary.
No, global GPS. It's GPS position for lots of various places around the world, and one of them was the exact location of High Brazil.
That's right. Now, when they actually decoded that, it came out with the exploration of humanity continuous for planetary advancements, as well as the, like you say, the GPS coordinates for allegedly High Brazil. Not just that, but other spiritual and supernatural locations around the world, including places like Stonehenge. I believe Atlantis was one as well, wasn't it?
That's right. And there was an island in Greece, Giza in Egypt, Sedona in Arizona, and there was a couple of the Aztec pyramids in South America and Central America. Oh, and China as well. And if you remember in China, we spoke about it, I think last week, where there was that place, I think it's Hunan province, where they found those big gold discs, which were closest thing to it was sort of a video disc, and it had pictograms all the way around it of alien ships and everything. And that's where the legends of the blonde people came from the sky. And there's mummies being found in China with blonde hair and stuff, and red hair.
Strange that. It's all kind of linking together, isn't it?
What we said last week, everything links in.
It's really strange. Now, I never ever thought, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had not heard this. I knew the story of the Rendlesham Forest incident, obviously, but I didn't realise that this linked into High Brazil. And I was really, really, really shocked that there was allegedly a link to the High Brazil. I was really shocked at that. I was quite astonished by that.
Yeah, I must admit, I was surprised when I saw that. What was that island? I've just seen Andy has said it in the chat room there. But for some reason, he only mentions this binary code years after the supposed landing, which is very true. But there might be something in it. There might not be something in it. There might be book writing in it. There might be aliens in it. I don't know. But yeah.
Have you got that out your system now?
I think for now, but I haven't done it in an Irish accent, but that's for later.
Okay. Now, okay, so talking about High Brazil. Now, like you said, when it appears on the maps, it appears as a perfect circle with a semicircular channel through the centre. Now, the circular perimeter of the island was confirmed, allegedly, by both Saints Barind and Brendan. Now, Saint Brendan, is quite a little traveller, isn't he?
Just a little bit.
Do you want to tell me a little bit about Saint Brendan?
Not really, because I can't see anything about him.
Now, Saint Brendan, he founded the Clonfert Monastery and Monistic School. Now, around AD 530, the Irish monk Brendan and his followers, now, the numbers vary hugely from 18 to 150. Now, apparently they got fed up and set out across the Atlantic to search for paradise. And they came across another island. See, St. Brendan seems very, good to find these weird and wonderful mists of islands that hide in mists. And he found another island with the perfect climate, with happy inhabitants, and a very abundant nature. And, they stayed there for a while. And it was first mentioned in the 9th century in a Latin text. Now, this is Latin, and I do apologise to all my Latin knowers out there before I even try this. Navigatio Sancti Brendani Abbatis.
Baptiste. I think you got it spot on there. I know what you're talking about because, funny enough, I was reading that earlier, and now I cannot find it anywhere. So, I know what you're talking about, but they think that it wasn't High Brazil, don't they? Because of the description.
No, this is a completely different island, but it has very, very similar. They've actually called it St. Brendan's Isle. Now, it first appears on. It was first mentioned, as I say, in the 9th century, but it also appears on a very famous map of the medieval era, the Hereford Mappa Mundi.
Yeah.
Right, but no one knows where it is now.
What, the map?
No, the island.
Well, it still appeared. I think it was. I read something about Christopher Columbus. It was still appearing on his maps, and then it gradually disappeared as they started to chart the seas properly. They realised that a lot of the places that were being mistaken for High Brazil was the Scilly Isles and some of the Scottish islands and things like that, and even some out as far as Newfoundland and things like that, wasn't there?
Yeah, and this one isn't like, because, you know, High Brazil is obviously off of Ireland. Well, this one was supposed to have been located west of the Canaries, St. Brendan's Island, or Isle.
That's right. Yes, it is. Hang on. I know what you're talking about now. Right, hang on. Carry on.
Well, we're done with that one now. We're moving on, mate.
Oh, yeah, St. Brendan's Isle. There you go. I've got it.
Oh, see, bless him. He catches up eventually.
Mappa Mundi.
Am I moving too fast for you, babes?
Let's swiftly move on.
But it just seems strange that St. Brendan managed to, go to the High Brazil and then finds this beautiful place in the west of the Canaries that sounds very similar when you look at the abundant nature and the happy inhabitants. And, he's a bit lucky, this guy.
Maybe it was Jamaica we actually found. If it was full of happy inhabitants and abundant nature, then maybe they were just all happy for a reason,
Quite possibly. That is quite possible, I suppose.
You never know. Because it does, when you think about it, St. Brendan's Isle, especially when you look at the map as well, it is in that area. Yeah, supposedly it was in that area. So, well known as herbal medicine, so maybe they were incredibly happy people.
Quite possibly.
That would mean a happy monk as well.
Explains why they wanted to stay there and why everybody wants to find it.
If they formed a band and they were from Manchester, would they be called the Happy Monk Days? That was really bad, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness.
They permanently had the munchies.
They had plenty of food because it was an abundant island, so they were all right there. Thank you very much. I don't know. I just found it very strange that St. Brendan managed to find two islands that sound very similar in completely different locations, and he was just... I know he's a saint, but he wouldn't have been sainted until after he died, because they don't do that, do they?
No, no. If you can, I think it's 3 miracles you've got to be able to do, and if you can do the 3 miracles whilst you're alive, you do get sainthood.
Well, that's 2 of them.
Yeah.
He found the mythical island of High Brazil, and then he's found this Eden of an island out in the West Canaries.
And discovered a specific way to make tinctures, salves, and potions out of an herb.
Did he? Or you just made that up?
I'm just making that up.
Oh. I was going to say, I don't remember that.
As James Steele says, it's Father Ted, isn't it? Girls, grass, drink.
Well, I don't know, but he certainly seemed to have a very blessed little life, didn't he? Not normally, not normally finding 2 paradisey kind of. I'm making words up as we go along here.
Do you mean utopian? Yeah.
Utopian. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. That's a better word. Utopian islands in his lifetime. That's pretty good going.
Well, back in the day, monks and vicars and stuff then, they were the scholars because they were some of the only people who could actually read and write and do cartography because it was a really skilled job to be able to read and write. And these guys used to, like the Devil's Bible, that's supposed to be done by, a monk and everything. But they did a lot of the maps. One of the first guys who actually discovered, who made hand grenades and everything, he was a cartographer even, in Spain. So the people that wrote and kept records and everything, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they got paid the mega bucks. But you've got an Irish monk who's got a load of people on board, and he's gone, Jesus, let's go hunting an island. And they've gone over there, seen a load of really happy people going, oh, what's that you got there? I'm staying here. So can't blame him, and he must have written it all down, and that must have been some funky stories.
It's a shame we don't have a journal.
That would be so interesting.
The Hitchhiker's Guide, St. Brendan's Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hip hikers.
I don't know. Well, it was one very, very lucky boy. That's all I can say, to find 2 utopian islands. Ah, well done. I love that word.
When you look in every culture, though, everywhere's got a utopia, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, even up in Nepal, the Shangri-La. That's it.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, haven't we, the Shangri-La? And even Eden. Just think of Eden. Yeah. It sounds very Edenish, doesn't it?
And also that brings us on to one of our other islands, mystical type things. And what do you reckon to Avalon?
Well...
And I'm not talking Roxy Music either.
No, I know. Avalon is one of those, well, King Arthur. What more can you say? Now, there's a link because there's... Avalon means apple, apparently, in Welsh.
Right.
And it is a legendary island, and it is allegedly the place where King Arthur's sword Excalibur was forged, and where Arthur was later taken after the Battle of Camlan to recuperate.
Right, to recuperate.
Now, apparently, there are legends that says Arthur never died, and according to these traditions, he will apparently rise again and lead his people once again. But
I in the poll tax riots, did you?
Sorry?
I didn't see him in the poll tax riots, did you?
No. But Geoffrey of Monmouth, he wrote that King Arthur was taken to Avalon after he was mortally wounded at the Battle of Camlan, and was to be looked after by Morgan Le Fay, who was chief of 9 magical sisters that lived on this island. Now, Morgan Le Fay is a famous in her own right, but her image has been transformed over the years because originally she wasn't the bad, wicked old witch that she is portrayed in this day and age. Now her image is more sinister and jealous, and she was alleged to have studied black magic studies under Merlin and all that sort of thing. And I was wondering your take on that, Mark.
Morgan Le Fay was supposed to be the really nasty one that didn't, if I remember rightly, didn't she disguise herself and have a tete-a-tete with Uther, Arthur's father?
Allegedly she did. Allegedly. But again, her image has been changed over the years. Because when King Arthur was supposed to have been taken to Avalon to be healed by her, she was a healer and a good person and a good witch.
Well,
not witch,
if I remember,
good person.
Yeah, she was supposed to be, and then she got jealous of Merlin, didn't she? Don't quote me on it, but I think it was Merlin she got jealous of, and then started thinking, well, why doesn't he like me that much? And that's when she created the Fog of the Dragons, to contain herself as she went over to Uther, and that's when she had her wicked way with Uther and got impregnated with Arthur's brother, wasn't it? And then she killed Uther.
Lovely. Gotta love ancient history.
It all comes back to what we were talking about last week. It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Wow, they certainly knew how to live. Let's put it that way. You've got Saint.
Oh God, yeah, Knights of the Round Table. Cool.
Well, you've got Saint Brendan with his utopia. You've got King Arthur, his Knights of the Round Table, and incest and all sorts surrounding him. Now, right, where is Avalon, Mark? Do we know where Avalon is?
Well, they reckon it was out in the southwest, where I'm from, don't they? They reckon it was off the coast of between Devon and Cornwall. It's not at the bottom where they think. It's supposed to be, especially if you talk to people from Devon and Cornwall, it's not supposed to be off the bottom. It's supposed to be off, as you look at the leg of the UK as it sticks out, and then you've got the bit where Land's End is. It's supposed to be sort of around the corner and up a bit and across.
Right. See, I didn't know that. I thought it was literally an island in the middle of a lake.
No, they reckon it was a real island once upon a time, and then the name got taken, and then it went over, and as Andy's saying, it's supposed to be Glastonbury, but I don't hold with that myself, because I used to live down there, and I've heard all the local legends and this, that, and the other, because I've been into this sort of stuff for years. If you talk to the locals and you listen to, especially the old legends that there's only oral tradition, yeah. They all talk about it was a real island, and again, it was the same thing as most of the islands. It all got taken up by the water.
Well, Avalon first became associated with Glastonbury in 1190, where the monks at the Glastonbury Abbey were claimed to have found the remains of Arthur and his queen. But there's no real documents to back that up, I believe. I have seen a thing about that, and they found a plaque which had in Old English about him. And I've been to Glastonbury lots, and been on Glastonbury tour and everything. And Andy's there saying Glastonbury used to be an island, possibly, but having been there myself, I cannot see where Avalon. I can see where it's to do with Avalon, but I can't see it as being. I can't see it as being where the Round Table was and everything. I can't see it being where the sword was forged or where the Lady of the Lake is. It's like down in Surrey, there is a place called the Silent Pool, which again is a lake, small crystal clear lake, where one of King Arthur's men is supposed to come along on his horse, scared a maid, and she fell into the water and drowned, and that's supposed to be to do with the Lady of the Lake as well. But that's Surrey, But as I say, if you go down to Somerset and you talk to them, and they all talk on Devon, they all talk about Avalon and Tintagel and all that sort of stuff, and it was off the coast of North Devon. Well, Gerald of Wales claimed that Glastonbury was in ancient times called the Isle of Avalon, and centuries ago the area was actually called Welsh. Now I'm on Welsh. Nisgutrine, which in Welsh means island of glass, and from these words the invading Saxons later provided us with the place name Glastonbury.
That's right.
And then it turned to Glastonbury.
That's right. They're talking. I'm just looking in the chat room there, and they're all talking about the grave and everything that was found of King Arthur. I know you guys can hear us. Am I right in thinking there was supposed to have been a plaque found with one of the graves, basically saying, "Here lie the remains of King Arthur and his wife," or something like that? Oh, and Andy's just typing that as we speak. Okay, but
and
I know
what the monks at Glastonbury Abbey claim to have found.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
They did find there was documented proof that they found it, and then, as Andy just said, they found it and lost it.
How bad of them! Oh, we found this. It proves the huge legends of King Arthur and all of his Knights of the Round Table were, real. We've got this plaque. Oh my God, we've lost it.
Have you ever been to Glastonbury?
Yeah.
Well, if you go down the bottom, where the big cross is in the square.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go around there, you'll smell the patchouli and weird smoking things that everybody, practically the whole place, walks around smoking. Then you can. Yes, they do. You see why they lost it. In fact, it was the monks from that island. They came back absolutely roaringly high as a kite, and they go, "Yeah, man, we lost it."
We've gone into our own myths and legends now.
We have that, but yes, I can see the Isle of Avalon. I can't even pronounce it. Innis Wittrin. And there's Glastonbury Tor, there's the Abbey, and it did used to be a small island that had a river running around it. And that is thanks to the young lady here showing me.
Lovely. Oh, well, that was nice. Anyway, on that note, we need to take a break. So when we come back, we will go on and talk about more islands. So bear with me 1 second and listen to these ads.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
Hello, this is Kerry Ann. Please join me every Thursday at 9 p.m. on Seventh Sanctum, only on Parasearch UK Radio.
Hello, join me, Paul Rook, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. for the Trident Paranormal Show, with interviews, news and reviews from this galaxy and beyond, only on Parasearch UK Radio.
You're listening to the Dark Nights Paranormal Show with your hosts, Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley, right here on Parasearch UK Radio.
Welcome back. I am Kerry Greenaway and I'm with my co-host Mark Manley, and we are discussing disappearing islands. Now, so far we have discussed Tir Agnog and High Brazil, and we've talked about Avalon, and now we're going to go on to talk a little bit about Atlantis even.
Okay.
Okay.
The legendary ringed floating city. It had
legendary floating city.
Did you know, actually, funnily enough, they think they may have found recently bits of Atlantis. I think it was near Turkey. They had a dig out there and they followed, I can't remember where I saw it, but they followed basically ancient scripts, ancient things written down, this, that and the other, and they got these coordinates and dug down where these coordinates were, and they found bits of ancient building and this, that and the other, and they think it's where when the tsunami, because it was a tsunami that hit Atlantis, and they reckon they found the final resting place of the remains of Atlantis.
Well, that was the Egyptian Atlantis. That's what they ran. It was actually it was an amazing thing in the British Museum. Thing isn't the right word. Exhibition, that's the word. And it was called Sunken Histories. It was called Sunken Histories, and it was, oh my goodness, it was fantastic. And you're right, they found a huge city, basically, and loads of statues and stuff like that. But they didn't find anything like the Pillars of Hercules, which was supposed to guard the entrance to Atlantis.
Oh, it was the gates, wasn't it?
The gates, yeah. So they don't think it's actually the Atlantis, but they think it is something just as incredible. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like all the old legends. I'm going slightly off topic here, but the legend of Noah's Ark, and they think they've actually found the Ark, haven't they, on top of Mount Sinai, or what's left of it, an imprint of it anyway. So, I always think there's something, it's like I said before, whatever a legend is or a myth is, there had to be something there in the first place to start it.
That's true. Now, Atlantis first came up because of Plato. He wrote a book called the Timaeus and the Critias in 360 BC, and it contains the earliest reference to Atlantis. And it talked about a war between the Athenians and the Atlanteans. And that's where it first ever came from. And it was supposed to be an island with circular moats. And there's a huge legend surrounding Atlantis.
That's right. And the royalty lived in the centre bit, didn't they?
They did. Now,
each concentric bit had a different type. Like you'd have artisans in one bit, you'd have the shops in another bit, and you'd have the locals in another bit,
That's right. Now, Atlanteans sound like they were quite a warring race because they enslaved people who they, claimed victory over. And then there was an alleged alliance between the Athenians and the enslaved people of like Libya and Egypt and places like that. And then as this broke down, all the war, Poseidon got a bit annoyed about this because it was actually Poseidon who had this island. He was given this island by the gods, basically. I mean, he was a god himself, but they split the land up, allegedly. This is the legend bit. They split the land up, and Poseidon actually was given the island of Atlantis. Now, he loved a lady called Clito, and get this, girls, she had 5 pairs of male twins. Now, the eldest...
Wow.
I know. I mean, I was quite... Oh, poor girl. The eldest was Atlas.
Really? I thought that Atlas was... No, carry on. I'm thinking of the ones before the gods. What are they called? Titans.
Yeah, no. The eldest was Atlas. Now he became king of this island. The Atlantic Ocean is named after Atlas. Did you know that?
No, I didn't actually.
And Atlantis is named after him as well.
Well, I know... Go on.
Poseidon loved this woman so much that there was a massive tomb right in the centre, and that was like the seat of power, and that's where he buried Cleito.
That's right.
However you say her name, I probably said that wrong.
I'm not going to even go there because knowing me, I'll get it incredibly wrong.
Now, this place was supposed to be absolutely incredible. As I say, it was a circular with moats in it, and each moat was well defended. And it had, we talked about the pillars of Hercules guarding the gates into Atlantis, and it had fabled libraries, and it really was supposed to be something special. But when the Athenians,
were they to do with the Minoans?
Oh, I don't know. I just saw them as Athenians.
Well, the Atlanteans were supposed to have been an advanced culture, weren't they? And they were supposed to be related to the Minoans.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, when the Athenians and the enslaved people rose up against the Atlanteans, the alliance that actually broke down, and it all sort of went to pot, really, and everyone was fighting everybody, and it all got a bit much. And that is at the point where, like the gods said, that's enough, I've had enough of this. And that's when Atlantis was supposed to have been sunk into the ocean, and the men who were on land were supposed to have sunk into the earth, and that finished it. Now, it was actually a work of fiction and legend and tale, but people have, across the ages, have said that it's fact, or are still looking for this Atlantis, but it actually was, as I say, this story, because Plato wrote about it in his book, so it's actually fiction. But they think it's actually based on fact. They think Plato based it on a fact, but changed the names to protect the innocent, kind of thing, and that's why people still are looking for Atlantis, because no one's ever knows for sure whether it was based on a fact and he just wrote it into a book of fiction, or he made it all up.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Plato mythologized what was actually the real event of, was it the eruption of Thera, which destroyed Crete, basically. And if it's all supposed to do with that, and the Minoans are supposed to do with the Atlanteans and this, that, and the other, it'd all be taken out at the same time. But yeah, I could see where that would come from.
Yeah. But again, huge myths and legends surrounding this particular island, so who knows whether it was real or not.
It's like Cleopatra's Harbour. They thought that it was real, and then they said, oh, nobody's ever found proof of it. And a few years ago, they actually found Cleopatra's Harbour, didn't they?
Yeah. So it's another one of those, isn't it?
Is it or isn't
was it not?
I think there was something behind. There was something real behind the story.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You always go on the theory that there's no smoke without fire, don't you?
Exactly. I always think that every single story has to have had a beginning to get that story. Even if it was the smallest spark of imagination, there had to be something there for that spark of imagination to go, do you know what? I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But like you say, at that time there were loads of warring factions between people, so he could easily have sort of made up a story around the legends of the gods, bringing them into the all of this fighting that was going on.
Well, it's like if you look at things like Pompeii, a pyroclastic flow, and that just went one day, done. If there really was an Atlantis, something like that could have happened. If it was a tsunami, or as it says, that volcano going off, if it was real, that could have happened. That's
true. Now I want to go on, and I want to talk about Lemuria, otherwise known as Mu.
Justified ancients of Mu.
Oh my goodness! Now this one is a bit close to my heart because the continent. It was supposed to have been a continent. Now
that's right.
Continents aren't small. Sorry, that's my Essex coming out there. They're not small. So for a continent to have been swallowed by the sea is quite something, don't you think?
If there was, it's like, is it California? Yeah, California. That's on a fault line, and they said if ever there's a massive earthquake, California will just go into the sea. So if there was a massive fault line that ran along the entire length of it, it is theoretically possible.
Right. Well, we'll get into the geographical details of that in a moment. Now, this first appeared in a guy called Augustus Le Plongeon in 1825 to 1908. Talked about Lemuria after his investigations of the Mayan ruins. And he linked this to the sunken lands of Atlantis, but it's in completely different areas.
Yeah, it is, because Atlantis was down near Crete and that lot, wasn't it?
That's true. Now, the idea of Lemuria was further developed by a guy called James Churchward, who was supposed to have translated a set of sunburnt clay tablets that he came across, that claimed that Mu was in the Pacific, and was destroyed overnight by volcanoes and earthquakes.
That's right.
That's right. But geological facts coming right up. The Earth's crust is made up of something called sile rocks. Now, this is rich in aluminium silicates. Okay, now they float on top of a seamer rock, which is full of magnesium silicates and is a lot more solid. Now, basically, seamer is basically anchored. So sile rocks, although they float on top of it, they're anchored on top of the seamers. So you can't just lose a continent. You can lose land masses off the top of it, like the topsoil, but you can't actually lose an entire continent.
But who's to say, one thing is like back then, because I mean our forms of transportation were limited. Who's to say it wasn't actually just a fairly large landmass and wasn't actually a continent? But back then, because they didn't have to transport, they said, "Oh, it's a continent." Because as my rather brainy daughter has pointed out, that when tectonic plates grind together, they actually go in together and then down, and they pull whatever mass is on it down into the ground or the sea.
But the point is, yeah, you've got seamer rocks which are solid. They're solid. They're not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Even with the sile rocks sitting on top, you're not going to lose an entire continent that way. They would not, even a huge landmass, you would not lose an entire landmass. There would still be something.
Yeah,
that's the point of it. It's geologically impossible to lose that amount or that huge amount of landmass. It's geologically impossible. Telling you now.
And here end of the sermon by Kerry. Augustus Le Plongeon would disagree with you. What about James Churchward?
He probably would. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. One writer claimed that mankind had its origins in Mu.
That's right.
Didn't she?
Which one are you talking about? Because there's lots of writers.
Theosophist, Madame Blavatsky.
Ah, right. She is over here. Madame Blavatsky, where is she? Here we go. Yeah, I can't even say it. Theosophist. Madame Blavatsky claimed that Lemurians were ape-like giants that had the gift of telepathy. That's, if I remember rightly, down in Crete and all sorts of that area, you had the Cyclopses and all that stuff, and they were supposed to be hairy, big giants with one eye, and some of them had telepathic powers, didn't they?
They did.
So maybe
I even found you a little alien link with this island of Mu.
Oh, go on.
You want to hear it?
Go on.
Well, allegedly, the legend goes that before the destruction of their land or whatever, they programmed crystals with all of their teachings, which revealed when the earth was ready, when the energy on earth was ready, then all this information would come out. Now, on the crystal market, there is something called a Lemurian seed quartz, now which is quite distinctive because they're generally quite one big point that has barcoding on it. And when you do meditations and stuff like that, it really does help you link with your spiritual connection and spiritual evolution. It really links in with that. Now, they were alleged to have been placed in a grid pattern over the earth, across the stars and crossing dimensions. So, could it be that the Lemurians were aliens that disappeared back to their homeland?
Aliens!
Yeah. See, I even found you a little alien.
No,
Nick.
you
10
work
years, but
with
you're still a little one.
dilithium crystals. She
They're
cannot
not
take no more of Captain.
They're corpses.
So these islands have disappeared because basically they were made of dilithium crystals, which powered the Starship Enterprise and the Millennium Falcon.
Who knows? This could be true. But we've gone into our own myths. We've gone into our own little myths now, haven't we? Again.
Nibiru.
Anyway,
Get back
I had
on
to
track,
get the
shall we?
when we found out about Lemuria or Mu, immediately I thought of these Lemurian seed quartzes because we've just had the Tucson Gem Show in America, and there were some amazing specimens of the Lemurian seeds that have only come to light. They've only been like a recent. Quite a recent discovery, and as I say, they're really distinctive because they have like a barcoding effect on one of the faces of them, and they're really distinctive. And if you work with them, they're really quite powerful. And I've worked with one. And
you have to send us a picture of that.
Sorry.
You have to send me a picture of that. That sounds rather intriguing.
They're incredibly intriguing crystals to work with. Now, I have only ever worked with one of these Lemurian seeds, and I was having a meditation, and it was quite scary. I had an experience, and I saw a grey in my meditation, and he turned his head and he looked at me, and at that point I broke the meditation because I don't do aliens. You know how I feel about aliens. So, and then I sold it on. I sold it on, but I did tell them that that's what I got when I was working with it, and the person who bought it was absolutely intrigued. And I've got to actually catch up with that person to see how she's got on with it. But it would have been very, it was quite, not my kind of thing.
Well, see, I don't know. The alien thing, I still think that we are not the only planet in the whole of the cosmos with intelligent life on it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's another planet somewhere else where people remarkably like us sitting down doing exactly what we're doing, going, I wonder if there's people like us on another planet, you know. So I don't see why they couldn't have, or even interdimensional people who can jump in and out of dimensions. The onion theory, you know.
True. Well, it was supposed to be across the earth, across the stars, and across dimensions. That's why they gridded it in that way. But who knows? We shall see. Coming back closer to home, though, and back from the stars, I want to quickly talk about an island called Thule, or Tula, I think you would pronounce it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Tula.
Tula. Do you want to tell me a little bit about Tula?
If I can find it. I've lost it. I'm all over the place with my notes.
Okay, well, in 325 BC, the Greek navigator Pytheas left his home port of Massalia, which is the present-day Marseille.
Hey. Marseille.
Thank you for pointing that out to me, because I actually thought that was France. I know, he's just face-palmed. He's just face-palmed himself.
Oh.
See, geography, not my strong point. Now, he sailed into the Atlantic. He turned north. I love these descriptions. Now, he was the first classical writer to describe Britain, called Britannia or Britannia. And he sailed this, our lovely British Isles, and he went as far north as you possibly could. And he says he came across an island called Tula or Thule.
Right. Sure. But look at it. It says his original account was lost, and all there are commentaries on it by the geographer called Strabo and other classical writers. Strabo thought Thule was an invention, but he also thought Pytheas' description of the seas north of the island being choked with ice was nonsense. But since then, we've discovered all the islands in Antarctica and all that sort of stuff up there, haven't they?
That's true.
Ptolemy added Thule to his a map of the world in his atlas, Geographia, which he published around AD 100. And after the book was translated by Florentine scholars in the 1410s, Thule regularly appeared as a large island north of Britain on maps as well into the 17th century. Scholars believe that if Pytheas really did sail north of Britain and discovered an island, it was either one of the Shetlands, the Faroes, Iceland, or even could have been the coast of Norway.
Yeah, because that goes up quite a way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, there's lots and lots and lots of tiny little islands up there.
Okay. Well, Strabo, who you mentioned as, you know, the geographer, Strabo, actually said that about Pythias. He tells us that though the most northerly of Britannic islands is the farthest north, but from other writers I learned nothing on the subject. That's what he said about it.
Well, I don't see what gets me about a lot of these stories, and it's always the later people that are poo-pooing the early ones. We didn't have the knowledge then, but if you knew where certain bits of landmass were, surely you'd know that shouldn't be there.
No, that's true.
You know, surely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they've circumnavigated the globe by that time, and they know, oh, that's Britain, that's there's Ireland. What's that? That shouldn't be there. You know.
True.
So I don't know whether it's because I mean there was, you know yourself, the sea rises over the years anyway, and there's been a lot of land reclaimed by the sea. Look at when all of the landmass was all together as one big one called Pangaea.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all started to get taken over by the sea. But back then you would have had lots of islands, lots of different lands, and this, that, and the other. And you may very well have had legends that stem from these islands and stem from these land masses that were around at the time. But gradually over the years, it's gone. I mean, there was a land bridge that linked England to France, wasn't there? And they still, when fishermen go fishing in that bit of sea between the coast of England and France, they still find arrowheads and this, that, and the other that come up in their fishing nets.
Yeah, that's true. Now, this island was supposed to have been a good production of crops and fruits. Stories have been abound about it throughout the ages. There's a huge mythology. And again, it was supposed to have been the birthplace of the Aryan race. And we're talking tall, blue-eyed people. Now,
oh, look. Blonde, blue-eyed people. Nordics.
Yeah, I was going to say. Now, I just want to touch on this because it was something that was brought to me by the attention of Andy Mercer. When the Nazis were on the rise but weren't quite in power, they had this mystical, esoteric faction within them, and it was called the Tula Society.
That's right, yeah.
It's German. I can't say this word. So Tula Gesellschaft.
Shaft, yeah.
Yeah. Now, a lot of original Nazis were supposed to have been part of this society. Rudolf Hess being one of them. Hitler was supposed to have gone and been part of this at some point, but there's no documented proof of that. I would just like to put that out there. There's no documented proof of that. They even overtook a newspaper, bought out a newspaper, and was writing about it, and I can't remember what the newspaper's called because it was German. But when Hitler actually came to power, this was he suppressed a lot of these kind of esoteric, little societies that had popped up, and he suppressed them all. But the Aryan race, the theory of Nazis and the Aryan race and trying to purify their culture was born out of this Tula society. There's actually one of the thoughts that was actually came out of that, as well as, well, that particular part of Nazism was actually part of the alleged Tula society that was all linked to the legends of the island of Tula.
Yeah, exactly. But the Tula or Thule Society was originally a study group. That's what it started out as, a study group in 1911.
I know. Crazy.
And then, exactly. And then the Nazis took it, transformed a lot of the mythology and theology behind it, and said, Aryan race, that'll do us. We are the Knights of Aryan. So,
which is really strange when you actually look at them, because they're quite dark, really, aren't they? Dark-haired. When you look at Hitler, dark hair.
Yeah. Small
I don't know
man.
what colour eyes he had, but he had dark hair.
Yeah, blue eyes, dark hair, and had small man syndrome, a bit like Napoleon.
I know, but when you think they wanted the Aryan race of, blue-eyed, blonde hair and all that, that was supposed to be the power race, I suppose you want to call it.
That's right. And to be a member of the SS, they had to be able to prove Aryan race back, I think it was 3 generations. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was they had to go back 3 generations of this Aryan race thing, and it had to be like a knight in the family line to be able to, so that you could be a member of the SS.
So, on that note, we're actually coming to the end of the show, Mark.
Oh, okay.
I know.
We didn't
that
even
went really
touch
quick,
on half of
didn't
it.
it?
It did. We didn't even touch on, like, Bus. Bus was one of them, and there was another one that I wanted to talk about as well. It was the Island of Demons and stuff. But
I know. We've run out of time, though, babes.
we can do. And there's this infamous Island of Canvey.
Well, I could tell you all about the island of Canvey.
I got a quick one for you. What do you know why the Isle of Dogs is called the Isle of Dogs?
That is because that was where the king kept his hunting dogs.
Which king?
Which king? See, I want to go the obvious one. King Henry VIII?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my goodness. I
you go.
got something right from history.
That's why it was that King Henry VIII used to keep his greyhounds and hunting dogs there. That's why it's called the Isle of Dogs.
Wow, see? A little bit of history there to end on. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us in the chat room. Thank you so much, Mark, for being my co-host and my lovely, lovely sidekick person.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for listening and not agreeing with a lot of what we're saying. Really interesting to see that.
Well, that's what we're all about. We're here to raise topics so it causes a discussion.
It does. I must admit, I like it when the comments come up, and it's always when it's to do with myths and legends. You'll see Andy go, no.
I know.
And it's like, yeah, here we go.
Here we go. We've got him again.
But it's nice to see that everybody starts talking in the chat room, not just about what we're talking about, but they all go off on their own tangent and just start discussing things. It's good to see.
And that's
great
what
interaction.
It's all about. That's what it's all
and
about.
a great show again.
Now,
and I want you to say something for me, Kerry, and I want you to say it for all the listeners. Just once. Say aliens. Come on.
No, I'm not.
Just
say
once
aliens.
for everybody. I think everybody in the chat room should tell you to.
We're over time now.
Aliens!
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.